All right, listen closely, because these three haunted house stories are not normal. These aren't your typical ghost stories. These are the kind of places you do not stay in after dark. And if you're watching this alone right now, maybe turn the volume down a bit. Because in every one of these houses, something happens the same way. It starts with a noise, then footsteps. Then something that should not be there starts acting like it belongs there. And the worst part? It doesn't stay in the house. So yeah, if you hear something above you tonight, don't ignore it. Let's get into it. The woman on the roof. The first sound came on the 13th night after the Millers moved into the house, at exactly 12:07 a.m. A soft, rhythmic ringing, like metal anklets tapping across wood, above them, on the roof. At first, David Miller thought it was animals, raccoons, maybe even squirrels trapped in the gutters. The house sat deep in the Tennessee hills, far from the nearest town, and old places made old noises. But the sound wasn't random. It moved in circles, always circling the roof, always at night, always walking. The house itself had been a bargain too good to question. A 2-story Victorian on nearly 10 acres of overgrown land, sold for less than a used pickup truck. The real estate listing simply called it a fixer-upper with character. No one mentioned why it had been abandoned. David, his wife Melissa, and their teenage daughter Hannah needed a fresh start. Debt had forced them out of Ohio, and the house felt like a reset button. Until the footsteps started. The first person to acknowledge them was Ruth Caldwell, the live-in caretaker who came with the property. Ruth was in her 70s, thin as wire, with sharp eyes that never seemed to settle on one place too long. She had lived in the nearby valley her entire life and knew things about the house she refused to explain. One night, David found her sitting in the kitchen at 2 a.m., staring upward, listening. The sound drifted directly above them. David frowned. "Ruth, what is that?" She didn't look at him. Instead, she whispered, "You hear it every night now, don't you?" "Yeah," David said. "Probably just—" "Don't finish that sentence," she interrupted sharply. For the first time, she looked at him, and her expression wasn't superstition. It was fear. "That's not an animal," she said quietly, "and it's not wind." David tried to laugh it off, but the sound above them continued, patient, circling, waiting. 3 nights later, Melissa saw her. It was past 2 a.m. when she woke up to humming outside the bedroom window. Soft, almost comforting, like a lullaby she couldn't quite remember. She pulled the curtain aside and froze. A woman stood on the roof just beyond the glass, barefoot, perfectly still. Her hair was long and black, hanging down in wet strands even though the night was dry. She wore a white dress that looked old-fashioned, like something from another century. And around her ankles, small silver bells. The woman smiled. Then she tapped the window once, twice. Melissa stumbled backward, screaming for David. When he rushed in, the roof outside was empty. Only silence remained. Then, moving again, circling above them, closer than before. Ruth refused to sleep after that. She began placing salt lines across doorways and hanging small charms above the windows. David thought it was harmless superstition until he noticed her hands shaking whenever the footsteps started. One night, he finally confronted her. "Tell me what's going on in this house." Ruth hesitated for a long time. Then she said something that made the room feel colder. "She doesn't walk like a living woman." David frowned. Who doesn't? Ruth looked up at the ceiling. The one above us. The truth came out in pieces. Ruth told them the house had belonged to a man named Charles Hargrove in the early 1900s, a wealthy widower who remarried a much younger woman named Lillian. Lillian was beautiful, quiet, and pregnant. But something about the house changed her. She began walking the halls at night, speaking to people who weren't there, standing on the roof for hours at a time, staring into the woods. Then, one winter night, she vanished. Charles claimed she ran away, but the servants heard something else. A woman screaming beneath the floorboards. And after that, the footsteps began. Always above the house, always circling, never leaving. She was buried wrong, Ruth whispered. David stared at her. What does that mean? Ruth's voice dropped lower. Back then, when someone died, if they were angry or wronged, people believed they could come back. Melissa scoffed nervously. That's not real. Ruth turned toward her slowly. Then explain why she never enters the house unless she's invited. Silence. Then something new. A knock from the roof. The next night, Hannah saw her. She had been up late scrolling on her phone when she heard scratching above her ceiling. At first, she ignored it. Then came a voice, soft, almost teenage. Hannah. She froze. The voice came again, closer. Hannah, let me in. Her phone slipped from her hands. She whispered, Dad? No answer. Only footsteps above her room now, circling faster, then stopping directly overhead. Silence. Then, a single tap on the ceiling, and something slid across the roof like fingernails. Ruth finally broke her own rule that night. Never look at her feet, she warned them as she lit candles in every room. David frowned. Why? Ruth didn't answer, but her hands trembled violently. She comes in pieces, Ruth said finally. What she lost is what makes her wrong. Melissa asked, What does that mean? Ruth swallowed hard. Just don't look down. Of course, that was exactly what David did, because at 1:48 a.m., the front door began rattling. Not violently, not breaking, just knocking. Slow, polite. 3 taps. Then a woman's voice outside. Please, I'm cold. Melissa grabbed David's arm. Don't open it! But Hannah was already walking toward the door. Don't! David said sharply. Hannah stopped. The voice outside changed slightly. Let me in, it whispered. Hannah hesitated, then whispered back, Who are you? A long silence followed. Then, Someone who remembers you. Ruth screamed from upstairs, No! But David was already opening the door. Cold air rushed in, and there she stood, the woman from the roof. Except now she was on the ground, barefoot, perfectly still, smiling. Her dress stained dark at the edges like wet earth, and the silver bells around her ankles chimed softly without movement. She hadn't even walked. She had simply appeared. Hannah stared at her. You're real. The woman tilted her head and slowly lifted her gaze. Let me inside, she said gently. David stepped forward. No, you need to leave. The woman ignored him. Her eyes stayed on Hannah. Then she smiled wider. And that's when David noticed her feet. They were wrong, completely wrong. The toes pointed backward, not toward the house, away from it, like she had been walking in reverse her entire life. David stumbled back. Ruth screamed again from upstairs, "Close it!" But it was too late. The woman stepped forward, and the house answered. The lights flickered out. Every door slammed at once, and the footsteps returned. Above them, inside them, everywhere. Running now, circling, screaming. The woman smiled and whispered into the darkness, "I'm already in." No one knows exactly what happened that night. When police arrived, the Millers were gone. All except one thing: bare footprints in the hallway, leading backward, out the door, and into the woods, as if something had walked out of the house without ever turning around. But people still say, deep in the Tennessee hills, if you pass that old house after midnight, you might hear it. Soft metal chimes above you, walking in circles across the roof. And if you're very unlucky, a woman will appear at your window, smiling gently, waiting patiently, and asking the same question she always asks. "Please, let me in." The Marrow House. Black Hollow Road had a house with no address. The mailbox still stood by the road, but the numbers were gone. Nobody replaced them. Locals just called it the Marrow House. Some said the family disappeared in 1983. Others claimed they never left. People swore they saw movement behind the windows late at night. Tall figures, watching, waiting. Nobody went near the house after dark. Nobody except Ethan Cole. Rain hammered his windshield as he pulled up beside the rusted gate. He stared at the house through the storm. 3 stories tall, crooked roof, dark windows like empty eye sockets. Perfect. Ethan grabbed his camera bag and forced a smile. His channel was dying. Views were dropping. Sponsors were gone. One real haunted house could change everything. He hit record. Midnight investigation of the infamous Marrow House. Thunder cracked overhead. At that exact moment, the front gate slowly creaked open by itself. Ethan froze, then laughed nervously. Just the wind. But even he didn't believe it. He walked up the overgrown path toward the porch. Rotten leaves squished beneath his boots. The closer he got, the colder the air felt. Then the smell hit him. Mold, wet wood, and something underneath it. Something rotten. The front door stood slightly open. Ethan stopped. He didn't remember seeing that from the road. "Hello?" No answer. Only the low groan of the house settling around him. He stepped inside. Dust drifted through the beam of his flashlight. Furniture sat beneath white sheets like people standing silently in the dark. Then he heard it. Ethan turned slowly. A grandfather clock stood at the end of the hallway. The pendulum was moving. That was impossible. Dust covered the entire clock face. Nobody had touched this thing in years. Ethan slowly stepped closer. Then suddenly, the clock stopped. The silence felt wrong immediately, like the entire house had been breathing with the clock. And now, it wasn't breathing anymore. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Ethan snapped the flashlight upward. "Hello?" Another creak. Slow, careful, like somebody pacing back and forth. He swallowed hard. "This is Ethan Cole. Definitely hearing movement on the second floor." He climbed the staircase. Every step groaned beneath his weight. The wallpaper peeled in long strips. Dark stains spread underneath. Family portraits lined the walls. Every face had been scratched out. except one. At the top of the stairs hung a photograph of a little girl in a white dress. Her face was untouched. Ethan lifted the flashlight closer. His stomach tightened. Her eyes looked wet. Not shiny, wet. A tear rolled slowly down her cheek. Ethan stumbled backward. The flashlight flickered violently. When the light steadied again, the girl was smiling. A loud bang exploded downstairs. Ethan nearly screamed. He rushed toward the staircase, then stopped cold. The front door was closed now. Someone stood in the foyer, tall, thin, too thin. Its neck bent sideways at an unnatural angle as it stared up at him. Ethan's hand trembled around the flashlight. "Hello?" The figure twitched, then suddenly sprinted toward the stairs. Ethan ran. Heavy footsteps thundered behind him. He burst into the hallway upstairs. Doors lined both sides, all closed, except one. At the very end, Ethan lunged inside and slammed the door shut. Silence. Only his breathing. Then he heard something else. Breathing. Inside the room, right behind him. Ethan turned slowly. Lightning flashed through the window. A woman sat rocking in the corner. Gray skin hung loosely from her bones. Long black hair covered most of her face. But Ethan could still see her mouth, smiling impossibly wide. "You came back," she whispered. Ethan grabbed the doorknob. It wouldn't move. Behind him, the rocking chair stopped. The woman stood. Bones cracked one by one as she stretched upward. Her head touched the ceiling. "You left us here." "I don't know you." Lightning flashed again. Now she stood inches away, and Ethan finally saw her eyes. There were none. Only black, empty sockets twisting with movement inside them. Tiny, pale fingers pushed outward from the darkness. Children's hands. Dozens of them. Ethan screamed. Suddenly the room exploded with noise. Children laughing, children crying, children screaming. The walls began pulsing like flesh. Wallpaper peeled away in wet strips. Human faces were underneath, their mouths opened silently, watching him, begging. The door burst open. Ethan ran blindly into the hallway. But the hallway was wrong now. Longer than before. Much longer. The photographs had changed. Every picture now showed Ethan inside the house, entering the front door, climbing the stairs, running through the hallway. Further down, the pictures became worse. Ethan crying, Ethan screaming, Ethan lying motionless on the floor. No, 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 no! At the final photograph, he stopped breathing. The picture showed Ethan standing exactly where he was now, and behind him, something stood in the darkness, breathing against his neck. Ethan turned slowly. The little girl stood there in her white dress. Up close, he could see dark stains covering the fabric. Old blood. "You shouldn't have come here." Then she smiled and opened her mouth. Wider, wider, until her jaw split apart completely. Darkness poured from inside her like liquid smoke. It swallowed the hallway, the walls, the ceiling, the light, everything. Ethan screamed once. Then the house became silent again. Outside, rain continued falling over Black Hollow Road. Downstairs, the grandfather clock began ticking once more. And upstairs, a new photograph slowly appeared on the wall. A smiling man holding a camera, eyes wide with terror, trapped inside the Merrow house forever. The last review. There was this Airbnb listing. Only 6 reviews, all 5 stars. but something about them felt off. They were all too short, like people didn't want to talk about it. Just things like, nice place, peaceful, good stay. That's it. No details, no stories. And the last review? It was almost a year old. After that, nothing. Lena still booked it, because it was cheap. $40 a night for a cabin deep in the mountains is hard to ignore. Marcus didn't like it though. Not from the start. The drive up there was already weird. No cars, no people, no signal. Just trees the whole way up. And silence. Too much silence. When they finally reached the cabin, Marcus just stared at it, like he already wanted to leave. It was old, really old. Wooden walls faded by weather. One porch light flickering like it was barely alive. He said, "This place feels wrong." Lena laughed a little, trying to make it lighter. "It's just an old cabin." But even she didn't sound convinced. Marcus found the basement door pretty quickly. He stopped when he saw it. Heavy wood, 3 metal locks, and scratches all over it. Deep ones, like someone had been trapped inside and tried to get out. He didn't even joke this time. He just said, "You see that, right?" Lena nodded, but she didn't go near it. That night, the storm rolled in fast. Wind shaking the whole cabin. Rain hitting the windows hard. And then, the power went out. Everything just died. No lights, no heat, nothing. Marcus lit candles and tried to stay calm. But then they heard it. From underneath the floor. Both of them stopped, looked at each other. Then another one. Right under them. Marcus whispered, "Tell me that's pipes." But it didn't sound like pipes. It sounded heavier, like something moving. Then came scratching. Like nails dragging under the floorboards. Lena stepped back. "Marcus?" The scratching stopped, and for a second, everything was silent. Too silent. Then a voice came, from below them, soft, almost broken. "Help me." Marcus froze. "You heard that?" Then again. "Please." Lena grabbed his arm. "We're leaving. I don't care. We're leaving." But the storm outside got worse. The wind started hitting the cabin harder. Something slammed into the roof. Marcus didn't move. He just kept staring at the basement door. Then he walked toward it. Lena shook her head. "Don't!" But he already grabbed the first lock. It clicked open, and the voice stopped. That made it worse. The silence. He opened the second lock. Nothing. Third lock. Still nothing. Lena whispered, "Marcus, stop." But he opened it anyway, and pulled the door open. Cold air came up immediately, and a smell with it. Rot. Dirt. Something old and wrong. The stairs went down farther than they should have. Way farther. Marcus pointed the flashlight down, and that's when things got strange. The basement was huge. Too big to fit under the cabin. It looked like another building down there. Old furniture covered in sheets. Children's toys scattered everywhere. Tiny shoes lined up like someone placed them carefully. Lena stepped closer without thinking, and saw the walls. Covered in photos. Dozens of them. All showing different people inside the cabin. Smiling. Standing in the living room. Different years. Different guests. Marcus frowned. These are all visitors. At the far end of the basement, something was standing, not moving, just there. Marcus lifted the flashlight. The light hit it, and it moved slightly. Just a twitch. Lena stepped back instantly. "We need to go. Now!" But the basement door above them slammed shut. Hard. Loud. And that's when the footsteps started. Not one set. Many. Small footsteps. Running. Laughing. All around them. From the walls. From the ceiling. From the floor. Lena felt something grab her ankle. She screamed and fell back. Marcus pointed the flashlight down and saw it. A child. Pale. Smiling too wide. Then more appeared. Not entering the room. Just already there. Like they had always been there. Marcus grabbed Lena's hand. "We run. Now." But there was nowhere to run. The children surrounded them, laughing softly, getting closer. And then the tall figure stepped forward. Now they could see it clearly. A woman, or something like one. No eyes, no real face, just a wide mouth filled with teeth. She spoke softly. "You stayed." And then everything moved at once. The children rushed forward. Marcus screamed. Lena screamed.
The flashlight dropped, and the basement went completely dark. But the sound didn't stop. The laughing, the crying, the whispering, all of it. Then silence. 3 days later, the Airbnb listing updated by itself. A new review appeared. 5 stars. Very peaceful. And there was a photo attached. Lena and Marcus standing inside the cabin, smiling, eyes wide open. So yeah, those were the 3 stories. And if you noticed something, they all end the same way. The house doesn't stop. It doesn't get cleansed. It just waits for the next person to move in. And the next time you hear footsteps above you at night, just remember this video. Because sometimes it's not your house settling. Sometimes it's something walking that already knows your name. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, because there are a lot more stories like this. And trust me, they only get worse from here. Good night.